Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Paulie Malinaggi, they have this podcast, him, Roy Jones Jr., and Antonio Tarver. The three of them are there. These guys are talking boxing, right? Now, I got to be honest. These guys, when they talk, they know what they're talking about. I see a lot of the same things, but myself and other boxing analysts or guys who just like boxing and have a channel like me, we can't peel the layers back like those guys can. Okay? You got years and years of boxing experience, years and years of fighting on the highest level amongst those three guys. So when they start talking and peeling the layers back and the things they see, it's interesting to hear from them. So I think the podcast is good. The bad thing about the podcast is Paulie Malinaggi. And I'm just going to be real. Now, there are times where when you have a guy like him, it's good because it's entertaining and you got someone who's not afraid to talk about controversial issues, taboo subjects. But Paulie Malinaggi, I just think, we know he has a big mouth. He hasn't learned to shut up. He hasn't learned to be respectful. He went on the podcast today talking about, well, he said that, okay, for people out there, he's just going to put it out there to the masses that this podcast isn't going to be like any other boxing podcast because in addition to talking about boxing, analyzing boxing, they're going to be the TMZ of boxing podcast and talk about rumors. Then he went on to start talking about Tank and the furniture and stuff and the car Floyd bought him and selling off the furniture and using that money to go and buy a different vehicle. You know what? Not too bad. You know, not too much of an issue with him talking about that, okay? But my thing is, when you start talking about people's families, that's where you have problems, especially people's children. So he goes on there. No, like, I've never heard that rumor. I've never heard anyone else talk about that rumor. I know that, there was a time where I seen Devin Haney getting into it with Floyd's daughter in text, calling her out of her name, talking about her, sleeping around and stuff like that. But that was, years ago. Never heard anything about Tank. And Paulie goes and just decides, because this man's chasing viewers, he's chasing subscribers, he's trying to have this huge podcast that's not just based on boxing, it's based on a lot of bullshit, in my opinion. And he says that he heard that Tank slept with Floyd's daughter, right? Now, he didn't say which one, but I'm assuming it's the one that's always with Floyd, right? And my thing is, before he said it, he put out the disclaimer like, hey, well, we're going to be like the TMZ of boxing, so I'm going to just let you guys know we're going to talk about things. It's almost like he knew what he was about to say he shouldn't say. And he went on and said it anyway. Now, this is my thing. You see Paulie Malinaggi, this man has no respect for himself or for anyone. You see him in there when Floyd was getting ready to fight Conor McGregor. Floyd was over there in Floyd's camp. Paulie was in Floyd's camp. And, they're all kind of playing up the fight and, acting like, he's giving Floyd the insight of what happened with the sparring between him and McGregor. Floyd, Paulie, when he's with Floyd, always seemed to have like a certain relationship, friendship. But then the man can't obviously respect Floyd, and the relationship can't be that strong if he'll use his platform as an opportunity to push a stinking rumor out to the world about Tank and Floyd's daughter. Now, my thing is this. Inside their little boxing circles, maybe people have heard that rumor, but the billions of people across the world who get on their computer and like to read about boxing and who eventually, as their channel grows, gonna watch boxing, have never heard that. So why would you put that bullshit out to all of us? That bothers me, man. Like, I just think it's corny. This man is 40-something years old. He's got money. He was a boxer. He probably should have never got to where he was supposed to in boxing because he doesn't hit hard. But he was able to box, he was able to win, and he had a high IQ. So you got to give him credit there. But what he's doing now after boxing is it's atrocious, man. He doesn't know how to shut up. And I think someone is gonna run up on this guy, man. You can't be able to talk about people's kids. And I'm sure when Floyd sees that, if it hasn't caught on like wildfire yet, that's going to annoy him. And that's going to probably annoy Tank if it's not true. Like, you have a boxing channel. You know, you can say, I believe. You can say, well, you know, I see it this way. But, like, for me, I'm in some boxing circles. I have some people who I know who are professional fighters and stuff like that. But I would never talk about that. And there are some things that I may know about pertaining to some of these fights. Not many of them, but a couple of them that are pretty big fights. That just being in certain places or being part of certain conversations, you hear it. But I wouldn't come and ever talk about that. Like, why? So my channel can hit 10,000? That's corny. Just for me let me tell you something, man. You know, friendship, respect goes a long way with me. Like, I could care less about this channel getting to 10, 15,000 to 1 million subscribers because I can bring out all the bullshit. That's corny. And then burning relationships. At some point, it's going to fizzle out because when I ruin those relationships, I no longer get the information. I no longer have anyone willing to confide in me or just have a conversation with me being in the environment. So this guy, Paulie, I just think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards that. The TMZ of boxing. Oh, wow, we can hear all the bullshit. I just think that's a shame. And I'm about to do another video about Floyd and Tarver. Like, why would they sit there and be part of that crap? They didn't say anything. See, that's a difference. They know not to talk about that stuff. You don't talk about somebody's children, man. It doesn't matter if Floyd's 70 and whichever daughter it is he's talking about is 50 years old or 45 or whatever the age difference is, right? You don't come down and talk about the children. Especially, it doesn't even matter. You don't talk about them. But especially if that's your brethren. You know what I mean? If that's your friend. That's crazy to me. So anyway, man, Paulie Malinaggi, man, he is not helping himself. He has another opportunity, man. They have a platform that they talk about a lot of good stuff. They do. But it looks like he's trying to be the Charlamane of podcasts now. You know, the boxing podcast, you got the Breakfast Club, you got Angela Yee, and you got this other guy over there, DJ Envy. And they talk about stuff. They're a bit more decent. But Charlamagne was, you know, definitely, he cleaned it up a bit, but he's still the one that throws the BS out and stirs the pot. But Paulie is coming on. It's almost like that's what he's trying to do, position himself as the Charlamagne of boxing podcast. And, you know, I just don't think it's necessary, and that's not what's needed. But a lot of people are going to like it because, hey, you hear rumors, you hear stuff, and it sells. But I just think it's an embarrassment to Paulie Malinaggi. Like, you know, talk about rumors you hear about somebody getting knocked out in the gym. Talk about rumors you hear about, hey, I heard that maybe there was an issue with money as far as someone not getting paid. Keep it boxing specific. But don't talk about you heard that Tank Davis slept with Floyd Mayweather's daughter, and that's something that Floyd has an issue with. It could be why Floyd is setting Tank up with these fights to lose and having pay-per-view dates of his own close to Tank's pay-per-view dates. You know what? You know, he could have left it as, he could have talked about the thing about the money where Tank sold off the car, sold off everything, and that could be something that Floyd had an issue with. That's why Floyd has handled or managed Tank the way he did. He could have left it right there. That's okay. It's rumors, it's some BS, but you know, that gets a pass. But when you start talking about people's kids, man, so that tells you there's nothing this man won't say, man. An idiot, man. So I don't respect that. But y'all, you guys can, you know, sit there and leave your comments below. I just think, you know, it's man, that just rubbed me the wrong way because I'm watching the podcast today, and I'm driving because all four of my sons they had like the award ceremonies and graduation stuff, you know, guys going to the next grade or whatever. So me and my little man, he's 4. He's in the back chilling, and I got this playing over the stereo system in the car. And the whole podcast is going great, man. I'm like, these guys, say some really spot on stuff, especially Roy Jones and Antonio Tarver. And then all of a sudden, Crocodile Malinaggi, Shit Sandwich Malinaggi comes on there, and when he wasn't talking about that, he was saying some good stuff, but he doesn't know when to shut up. He's super long-winded. And then at the tail end, he decides to throw that crap out there. And Antonio Tarver and Roy just kind of had that uneasy kind of like, they didn't want nothing to do with that. And I have a feeling they're going to talk to him about that. If they don't, then it's a shame on them, because they don't need to have that kind of drama, that kind of TMZ BS. They don't need to have that National Enquirer bullcrap going on that podcast. We will listen to them because of their knowledge and what they bring to the table and what they're going to talk about. We want to hear their insight and their perspective. We don't want to hear them talking about rumors and shit like that. Some people do, I don't. So really disappointed. So many people are just subscribing to that channel because you get to hear these guys who a lot of people respect. I don't know how many people respect Paulie Malinaggi, but he knew to get Roy Jones and Antonio Tarver there. And they're going to have other guys coming on. But that when Roy especially, man, Roy's on it, man. Roy has a high boxing IQ. That man knows boxing. Antonio Tarver too, but Roy's all right. Paulie knows boxing too, but I just don't think it's necessary to have that. Like that, he should come and apologize in the very next podcast and say he should never put that rumor out there to clean that up. But anyway, y'all can go out there and look at it. It's out there, man. I'm going to go ahead and end it at that, because basically I'll just come like a broken record and be saying the same thing over and over. Big mouth Paulie, this man needs to have something put in his mouth, man. I think he's going to be a fist sooner or later. And if you keep messing with people's kids, it may be something else that, just could end very bad for him. Should not do that. I don't care how old she is. She's a mother. She has a child. Why put something like that into the world that for the rest of her life people can access and talk about, especially if it's a stinking rumor. When it starts coming from these guys at this level, people tend to want to believe it. And it could come up, it could be thrown in her face, even if it's not true. So now it's something that's inescapable because it's out here on this damn media outlets. And there's some of you say, well, you're talking about it. Well, I'm talking about how I don't agree with it. Okay? And I ain't put that out there. But enough on that. I'll let you guys go check it out. Leave your opinions below, man. I just think it's corny, it's horrible. And even if it did happen, what the hell are we talking about that kind of stuff for on a boxing podcast? You know what I'm saying? Talk boxing, talk tech. You could talk about the money. Talk about the stuff that pertains to boxing. The ups and downs with promoters and venues and boxers and managers and, the trainers and training and sparring. The dieting, nutrition, the exercising, and talk about that, But don't start trying to turn into a TMZ. I just think, I already said what I think. Yo, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to all the veterans. I appreciate your support. I really do. It means a lot to me. Y'all keep safe. I'm in the breeze.